story that must be told. Here's a little story that must be told. Here's a little story. Here's a little story.
I'm Ben Saunders, formerly known as DJ Nerdy B, go by B Max now, and I'm a member of Franklin Highfield Productions and also a co-owner of Franklin Highfield Records in Seattle, Washington. Actually born in Walla Walla, Washington, and raised in Seattle. I was here, so I've been here my whole life. Brothers of the Same Mind was a group that I was a founding member of. Myself and Swift, DJ Swift, and it actually was the two of us. And he's originally from Detroit, moved out here, and we just connected on records, making beats, and we did all this and didn't have an MC. And Supreme Rock, who's obviously well known in Seattle, said, "Hey, I got an MC for you guys. He's from the Bronx," and brought him over to our house. And he came over and just started rhyming, and that was MC Class. So the three of us, Class, myself, and Swift, were original members of Brothers of the Same Mind. We were in Unsigned Hype. Sources Unsigned Hype were the only groups from Seattle to be in the Sources Unsigned Hype. Probably one of the only groups to remain unsigned. We never really signed a deal, which is kind of ironic. The three of us eventually became five. We added an MC called Sin Q. He was originally from Connecticut, came down to the Bay Area, and then wound up here in Seattle. So we added him, as well as Mellow Touch, who's from Seattle, and so we wound up with five. Swift and I did all the beats, production, all the cuts and scratches, and then the three MCs were, they did obviously all the lyrics and rap. So. Worked at KRAB, which is a radio station here in Seattle. He had a jazz show on Sunday nights. And I remember, like, after one of his shows, there was a guy that came on one night, and he played all hip-hop rap records. So it was the Funky 4+1, Treacherous 3, Sugar Hill Gang. I mean, all these, the groups that had records out at the time. It was on an FM radio station, so I recorded it and just listened to it over and over again, and then tried to get those records as a 10 or 11-year-old to try to go find them, whatever that looked like, getting on a bus and going to record stores around here, Music Menu, Music Land, Tower, all the typical record stores that everybody knows about. Grandmaster Flash came here early on. Treacherous 3 were here early on, and going to those shows and seeing those guys live, it was just unbelievable. I remember going to the Treacherous 3 show, and Easy Lee, their DJ, came out, and he had two turntables split, mixer in the middle, and he had doubles of everything that he was just rocking. I was just blown away. Getting those records and as a 10, 11-year-old and trying to, put together turntables and mixers, whatever that looked like, whatever I could get my hands on, and trying to emulate what I saw. I think I was in 7th grade, and I DJ'd a party for a bunch of 8th graders that I was in school with, and they knew I had records. And so, it was the typical, like, somebody's house party in the basement, and we had his dad's stereo set up, and I brought, like, my turntable. I must have had a small little crate of records, maybe like 50 records, and it was, a 5 or 6 hour long party, so I was playing the same song over and over again. Eventually getting to high school, late middle school, high school, so 83, 84, 85 in there, I got to the point where I felt like I was calling myself a DJ. I would DJ little parties or high school dances and got a PA system. And so that, it was just wonderful times. It was amazing. DJing and buying records and listening to records got me down thinking, like, I would love to be able to make a record like this. I think that's, like, everybody that kind of gets into it. Like, I'm going to see my name on a record. I want to make a record. And I didn't really know what that looked like and how to do that. So that was kind of the next iteration for me. To me, it was just the energy, like seeing these guys DJ, listening to this music that was, like, unlike anything else that was out there. It was just different. It just, for whatever reason, it just spoke to me. I was just blown away by it. I think just with everything that's gone on in these last few years, it's like people are, dealing with mental health and just not feeling good about themselves. It's like, to this day, I can play those records and listen to them, and I feel good. I wound up meeting Fever One and Supreme. Supreme was into wanting to make a record too. So he was when I met him, he was in the process of making a record called High Powered Hip Hop and King and Deaf Poetry. He had a record label called Gemini Records. I did a bunch of the scratches on King and Deaf Poetry, which was the B-side. And so if you listen to that record, it's got like tons of scratches and stuff in it. We kind of went overboard. Meeting Supreme and Fever, was huge for me. And that kind of led me to really wanting to, go in a studio, make records, meeting Swift at Sears and meeting MC Class. And we made that Brothers of the Same Mind album. That album and that EP all came together from just literally like every day we would just record. We got to the point where we had a fair amount of songs we felt good about, and that turned into the Brothers of the Same Mind EP. We had already been in the Source's Unsigned Hype, and so we had some interest from labels, wanting to sign us. We had a manager at the time named Shamsuddin Williams, and Shams was kind of fielding some of those inquiries about signing us. And we wound up just putting it out with him. We did it came out as a cassette only originally, and recently got reissued on vinyl. But, that was just us loving music and constantly working on stuff. We used to go, buy records all the time in the U District. We would catch the bus down to University District and just go record shopping like every day, and we'd come home with stacks of records and just listen. What can we lift off of here? What can we sample? That time, a lot of people were more West Coast sounding, so a lot of just played instruments, where we were definitely sample-driven, boom bap style drums, which is kind of what we were into and what we liked. And so a lot of people kind of made East Coast comparisons to us. They said Swift was from Detroit, Class was from the Bronx. And so it kind of, that was, and then we had our own twist on it, being here, living in Seattle. So in Brothers of the Same Mind, it's myself, B-Max, who I did probably for those projects did the most of the music and mixed and produced it. And then Swift was the DJ. He did pretty much all the cuts, also produced and mixed everything. And then MC Class was from the Bronx originally, is an MC, and Sin Q, originally from Connecticut, moved to the Bay Area. He was an MC, and then Mellow Touch is also an MC, and he's from Seattle. Cool Drink was it's a Donald Byrd sample, obviously, from this song called Dominoes, and Lorenzo Swift and I loved that record, right? So we knew that we wanted to use it, and so at first it was didn't have any of the singing on it or anything. It was basically just Class rapping over the Domino sample, and we had some drums that we looped and kind of chopped up from a song called One Man Band Plays Alone. And so we had those drums in the Donald Byrd sample, and it was basically just Class rapping. We had a tendency to take songs and be like, we're going to remix this now, we're going to redo it now. So a lot of our songs had 2 or 3 versions of it. And so the one that got put on the EP and we made a video for it kind of evolved into, we put a hook in there from a group called Third Level, who they actually won Mix-a-Lot's The Dark Side album. So they're the ones singing on the break, and then we added Sin Q. There's 4 verses. Class had 2, and Sin Q had 2, and then we had the Third Level break on there. The video was basically Shamsuddin, our manager, was living out in Renton, kind of the Renton Highlands area, and he just put something out that was like, we're filming a video at my house, and come to Seward Park at this time and then follow us up. And so there was literally like hundreds of people at his house, and it was a long day. I mean, it was probably like 8 in the morning all the way till midnight of that night. And we were kids, so we didn't really have any idea what we were getting ourselves into and filming a video. And to this day, I don't really like that record at all. I know video was on BET and a bunch, and it's kind of a cult video, I guess, if you will, just because people have heard about it or seen it. But I didn't really care for the song for what it became, but it's all right. A lot of people still know what it is, so I guess it's okay. There's a song called Step to the Mic that has 6 MCs on it. It's got, the three guys from Brothers of the Same Mind. It has an MC called Duke Jamel, who was in a group called Silver Chain Gang, who was one of the first rap groups out of Seattle. They were huge. His cousin is actually B-Self from Tribal. Duke Jamel was somebody I kind of looked up to. He was a couple of years older than me. So I have a special place in my heart for that record because he's on it. There was another MC called Mirage that was from Vegas that was on it. And then another MC called Textiles, who is Tracy Armour, who kind of worked for the Flavor magazine, and he was on it too. So it was just one of these like 6-minute songs that had all these MCs on it, very short breaks. And so that's one of the songs that I really liked on it. We also had a song that we recorded called $50 for a Monkey, and it was we had Specs on it. Specs and Textiles were on it. So that, again, is like a record that we never put out, but it's just like a dope record to me. We did a fair amount of shows, opened up for DJ Quick down in Portland and Seattle, opened up for Run DMC at the Rock Candy. I was pretty much at that point producing, and the group, and Swift was actually DJing. He was co-producing, producing. He was on stage most of the time. I just felt like there was really no reason for me to be technically in the group, and I wanted to have my own thing, but still produce Brothers of the Same Mind. And kind of looking back, that was kind of the end. I wanted to do another project with an MC called Mirage. We had a group called Language of the Hip. It was just the two of us. I DJ'd, produced, and he MC'd. And still wanted to be very much a part of Brothers of the Same Mind, but that all kind of came undone. And so Language of the Hip, we did actually a full album that we have recorded and mixed, and it's never been released. Supreme and I and Mike Clark, during the whole lockdown, we essentially just decided that we were going to have lunch in person once a week, once every 2 weeks. And so talking to Supreme kind of reinvigorated me, and we both decided, like, hey, all this stuff that we had done, the project with Shelly Chell, we should have just put out ourselves. Like, if we had known now, or known then what we know now, it's like we just wouldn't have never stopped, And of course, Supreme did wonderful things with Conception Records, which in my mind doesn't get nearly enough credit that he deserves. I mean, that was an incredible label that he ran out of Seattle. Language of the Hip album is, again, it's something, it's like looking back, it's like I should have just put that out myself. Supreme and I did, and Mike Clark did the 45 for Shelly Chell. We did He's Incredible, which was a song her and I did with the Incredicrew, and it never came out. And so that's kind of our resolution, if you will, is like, let's put out music. There was always this Brothers of the Same Mind thing. We decided we wanted to get back together and record a project. And so we kind of reconnected and flew out to Atlanta and recorded a bunch of music there. We put out one album called International Lover, and then we did another EP called Legacy. And doing that project has now led to me and Swift and Mellow Touch creating this label. With that, now we've decided we want to work with other people because we have this itch that we want to scratch, which is making music and producing. And so that's where we've connected now with Infinite from Tribal, and we're working with him, and we've got 2 albums out with him, and we've got 2 more that are basically pretty much done. I have no desire to be really in the public eye or anything like that. I just want to make music and put out music, and that's kind of where we are right now. I kind of look at Supreme. I mean, he's a couple years older than me. I'm not ashamed to say, like, I idolize him. Like, to me, he is he's hip hop, and everything he does is hip hop. Like that's the epitome. He's basically done what he's wanted to do his whole life, and pretty much steer clear of a 9-to-5 job. To me, that's hip hop. You're doing what you love. And Mike Clark told me something one time. He said, he worked at Beverly's Records and Music Menu, and of course, he would have people come in and say, "Hey, I got something coming out. I got this coming out, or whatever." And Mike would be like, "Dope. That's cool. When you have anything, a cassette, a CD, a record, bring it in. I'll buy it from you." Right? But just from a personal standpoint, he's like, "I'll buy it from you. I want to own it." And he said 99% of the time, nobody would come back in. They would never come back in. They'd say, "I had this coming out," and he'd never see him again. When I'm talking about like the Seattle scene, I'm talking about, people that are my peers or a little bit younger. It's like, let's just do music, right? Let's just put stuff out. And I think Specs has kind of always done that, which I love about him, is he puts stuff out. He doesn't care, who's buying it, who doesn't buy it. Doesn't matter. It's for him, and that's what it should be for. It should be for you feel good about it and you put it out. And if it sells 100 copies or 100,000 copies, like, it shouldn't matter as an artist to me. Right? I'm not in this for money. I don't. If you want to get into the music business to make money, it's like, this is the wrong business to get into, right? You see the younger people out there and posting stuff, and it's obviously a different world, right? I mean, they're growing up in a different world. Social media, the likes and the streams, they're not real. It's like, if you go out to a show and you have a crowd and they're rocking with you, that's what's real. How many followers do you have? How many streams do you have? And all this, and it's important, but it's not important at the same time. There's something about having to go, get on a bus or go walk to the record store and go buy a record or go buy a CD or go buy a tape or go to a show. Go buy a download. I mean, if you really like this artist, you should be buying a physical copy to support them. One of the things that's interesting is people will go and they'll spend $800 on a ticket for a national act, or they'll fly down to Vegas to go see somebody, but they won't buy somebody's CD for $5 up here. I think for Seattle, it's just supporting and coming out to shows. There's always something that you can do to go support. So I think that's definitely huge.